Please create a list of all the characters found in the Book of Revelation. The Book of Revelation in the Bible primarily features symbolic and allegorical characters representing various entities, both heavenly and earthly. Here is a list of key characters found in the Book of Revelation. Jesus Christ, the Lamb, the Alpha and Omega, the central figure of Revelation, portrayed as the Lamb who was slain, victorious over sin and death. God, the Almighty, the Lord God Almighty, the divine being seated on the throne, representing ultimate authority and power. The Holy Spirit, seven spirits of God represented in the sevenfold Spirit before the throne. John, the author of the Book of Revelation, who experiences the visions and records the messages. Angels, various angels play roles in delivering messages, sounding trumpets, and pouring out bowls of judgment. 24 elders, symbolic figures representing the redeemed, often associated with the 12 tribes of Israel and the 12 apostles. 4 living creatures, angelic beings around the throne, each with distinct faces: lion, calf, man, and eagle, representing aspects of creation. The dragon, Satan, the adversary who opposes God and works against the people of God. The beast from the sea, Antichrist, a political and military power opposing God and persecuting believers. The beast from the earth, false prophet, a religious and deceptive figure supporting the political beast. The woman, clothed with the sun, symbolic of Israel, the church, or the faithful people of God. 144,000 sealed servants, symbolic representation of a redeemed and protected group during a time of tribulation. The harlot, mystery, Babylon the Great, symbolic of a corrupt and worldly system or city. The 2 witnesses, prophetic figures who testify during a period of tribulation. Michael the Archangel, a powerful angelic being involved in spiritual warfare. Various kings and nations, represented in the context of judgment and the cosmic conflict. These characters often carry symbolic meanings, and interpretations may vary among readers and scholars. The Book of Revelation is rich in apocalyptic imagery, conveying spiritual truths and messages about the ultimate victory of God and His kingdom. I asked the AI to mention all the characters, but I know it still omitted a few. It forgot those under the altar. It left out Gog and Magog. I can even think of a few more mentions. But, no matter. I can work with this list. Let's start by talking about the 24 elders. Are the 24 elders in the Book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. The 24 elders mentioned in the Book of Revelation are not explicitly identified elsewhere in the Bible, and their specific identity remains a subject of interpretation and debate among scholars and theologians. The Book of Revelation provides unique imagery and symbols, and the mention of the 24 elders is limited to this book. In Revelation 4:4, the elders are introduced around the throne of God, wearing white robes and crowns, symbolizing their redeemed and elevated status. They are active participants in heavenly worship, casting their crowns before the throne and offering praise to God. While the Bible contains references to elders in various contexts, the specific group of 24 elders described in Revelation appears to be distinctive to the vision John receives in that book. Some interpretations suggest that they represent a symbolic gathering of the redeemed, potentially including representatives from both Old and New Testament believers. Having done a word search, there are 175 Bible results for elders from King James Version. Well, I cannot attempt to evaluate all those instances. However, I can refine my question. So, I shall ask the following. Are there similar cross-references to the 24 elders in the Book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. There was more to the answer I got, but here is a snippet of the more pertinent part of the answer. When exploring similar themes of heavenly worship and elders in the Bible, passages such as Isaiah 24:23 and Ezekiel 8:16 may be referenced, but they do not explicitly parallel the description of the 24 elders in Revelation. Alright then, What do those aforementioned verses say? Isaiah 24:23. King James Version. 23 Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion, and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. This is my commentary. This begs further questions as to who the ancients are. Turning now to the verse quoted in Ezekiel. Ezekiel 8:16. King James Version. 16 And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and, behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east, and they worshipped the sun toward the east. Alright then, let's talk about the 4 living creatures found in the book of Revelation. Are the 4 living creatures, in the book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. The 4 living creatures described in the book of Revelation are also mentioned in the book of Ezekiel in the Old Testament. The descriptions are similar but not identical, leading to discussions among scholars about their symbolic meaning. In the book of Revelation, Revelation 4:6-8, the 4 living creatures are introduced around the throne of God, each having a distinct appearance: lion, calf, man, and eagle. They are full of eyes, symbolizing their awareness and perception. In the book of Ezekiel, Ezekiel 1:5-14, 10:15-22, a similar group of 4 living creatures is described, though the details vary. The faces mentioned in Ezekiel are those of a man, a lion, an ox, calf, and an eagle. Like the creatures in Revelation, they are associated with wheels within wheels and have a close proximity to the glory of the Lord. The similarities between the descriptions in Revelation and Ezekiel have led some scholars to consider them as representing similar symbolic entities, perhaps connected to divine attributes or aspects of creation. The symbolic nature of these creatures suggests that their purpose is to convey spiritual truths rather than to describe literal beings. The book of Revelation draws on various images and symbols from the Old Testament, and the mention of the 4 living creatures is one example of this intertextual use of symbolism. For the sake of completion, let's hear the aforementioned verses about the 4 living creatures. Ezekiel 1:5-14. King James Version. 5 Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance: they had the likeness of a man. 6 And every one had 4 faces, and every one had 4 wings. 7 And their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot, and they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. 8 And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides, and they 4 had their faces and their wings. 9 Their wings were joined one to another, they turned not when they went every one straight forward. 10 As for the likeness of their faces, they 4 had the face of a man, and the face of a lion, on the right side, and they 4 had the face of an ox on the left side, they 4 also had the face of an eagle. 11 Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward, 2 wings of every one were joined one to another, and 2 covered their bodies. 12 And they went every one straight forward, whither the Spirit was to go, they went, and they turned not when they went. 13 As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps, it went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. 14 And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Alright, let's hear the other verses mentioned regarding the 4 living creatures in the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 10:15-22. King James Version. 15 And the cherubims were lifted up. This is the living creature that I saw by the river of Chebar. 16 And when the cherubims went, the wheels went by them, and when the cherubims lifted up their wings to mount up from the earth, the same wheels also turned not from beside them. 17 When they stood, these stood, and when they were lifted up, these lifted up themselves also, for the spirit of the living creature was in them. 18 Then the glory of the Lord departed from off the threshold of the house, and stood over the cherubims. 19 And the cherubims lifted up their wings, and mounted up from the earth in my sight. When they went out, the wheels also were beside them, and every one stood at the door of the east gate of the Lord's house, and the glory of the God of Israel was over them above. 20 This is the living creature that I saw under the God of Israel by the river of Chebar, and I knew that they were the cherubims. 21 Every one had 4 faces apiece, and every one 4 wings, and the likeness of the hands of a man was under their wings. 22 And the likeness of their faces was the same faces which I saw by the river of Chebar. Their appearances and themselves, they went every one straight forward. All right, now let's turn to another character that appears in the book of Revelation. Let's talk about the dragon. Is the dragon in the book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. Yes, the dragon mentioned in the book of Revelation is associated with Satan and is also referred to in other parts of the Bible. The primary passage connecting the dragon with Satan is found in Revelation, but there are Old Testament passages that allude to the same spiritual adversary. In Revelation 12:9, KJV, it explicitly states, "And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." This verse establishes the identification of the dragon as the devil and Satan. In the Old Testament, there are symbolic passages that describe a powerful adversary who opposes God and his people. For example, Isaiah 27:1, KJV, refers to a piercing serpent and a crooked serpent that God will punish. "In that day the Lord with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan the piercing serpent, even Leviathan that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea." While the term dragon may not be explicitly used in every Old Testament reference to Satan, the imagery and descriptions align with the spiritual adversary portrayed in the book of Revelation. The symbolic language is used to convey the idea of a powerful, malevolent force opposing God and his people throughout the biblical narrative. Alright, now let's turn to another character that appears in the book of Revelation. Let's talk about the beast from the sea, Antichrist. Is the beast from the sea, Antichrist, in the book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. The figure commonly associated with the beast from the sea in the book of Revelation is often identified with the Antichrist, a prominent adversary of God and his people. While the specific description of the beast from the sea is primarily found in Revelation, the concept of an Antichrist or a figure opposed to God is mentioned in other parts of the Bible. In 1 John 2:18, KJV, the term Antichrist is introduced. "Little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time." This verse suggests the anticipation of an Antichrist figure who would appear in the last times. However, it also acknowledges the presence of many Antichrists even during the time the Apostle John was writing. In 1 John 4:3, KJV, a further connection is made between Antichrist and the spirit that denies Jesus. "And every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God, and this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world." These verses in 1 John lay the groundwork for the concept of an Antichrist, but they don't provide the detailed imagery found in Revelation. The specific description of the beast from the sea as a political and military power is unique to the apocalyptic vision in Revelation 13:1-10. Alright, now let's turn to another character that appears in the book of Revelation. Let's talk about the woman, clothed with the sun. Is the woman, clothed with the sun, in the book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. The imagery of a woman clothed with the sun in the book of Revelation is a unique symbol in the context of that book. While there are other references to women and symbolic language in the Bible, the specific imagery of a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head, is primarily found in Revelation 12. Revelation 12:1-2, KJV, describes the woman in this way. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. The interpretation of this symbolic woman varies among scholars, but common interpretations include associations with Israel, the Church, or the faithful people of God throughout history. The imagery draws on elements from the Old Testament, such as Joseph's dream in Genesis 37:9-10, where the sun, moon, and stars represent his family. While the specific description of the woman in Revelation is not directly mentioned elsewhere in the Bible, the use of symbolic language and imagery is a common literary device in biblical prophecy and apocalyptic literature. Since it is now mentioned, let's hear Genesis 37:9-10. Genesis 37:9-10. King James Version. 9 And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and, behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. 10 And he told it to his father, and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? All right, now let's turn to another character that appears in the book of Revelation. Let's talk about the beast from the earth, false prophet. Is the beast from the earth, false prophet, in the book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. The specific description of the beast from the earth, often associated with the false prophet in the book of Revelation, is unique to Revelation 13:11-18. This passage describes a second beast that rises out of the earth, having 2 horns like a lamb but speaking like a dragon. This false prophet is depicted as having authority and performing signs to deceive the people. While the book of Revelation provides a detailed description of this false prophet, similar imagery and themes related to false prophets and deceptive figures can be found in other parts of the Bible. However, the direct correlation with the false prophet described in Revelation may 13 not be explicit. In the Gospels, particularly in Matthew 24:11, KJV, Jesus warns about false prophets. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. Additionally, in 2 Peter 2:1, KJV, there is a warning about false teachers who bring destructive heresies. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. While these verses address the broader theme of false prophets and deceptive teachings, the specific imagery of the beast from the earth in Revelation 13 is not directly mentioned elsewhere in the Bible. The book of Revelation often employs unique and symbolic imagery to convey its apocalyptic messages. For the sake of completeness, I would like to hear Revelation 13:11-18. Revelation 13:11-18. King James Version. 11 And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. 12 And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. 13 And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. 14 And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. 15 And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. 16 And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand, or in their foreheads. 17 And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. 18 Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 636. Alright, now let's turn to another character that appears in the book of Revelation. Let's talk about the harlot, mystery, Babylon the Great. Is the harlot, mystery, Babylon the Great, in the book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. The depiction of the harlot, often identified as mystery, Babylon the Great, in the book of Revelation is a unique symbol within the context of that book. While the broader themes of spiritual harlotry and idolatry are found throughout the Bible, the specific portrayal of this harlot in Revelation 17-18 is not directly mirrored in other biblical passages. In the Old Testament, especially in the prophetic books, there are metaphorical descriptions of unfaithfulness and idolatry using the imagery of a harlot or an adulterous woman. For example, Hosea uses such language to describe Israel's unfaithfulness to God. However, the detailed depiction of mystery, Babylon the Great, with its association to a city, is distinct to the book of Revelation. In summary, while the theme of spiritual unfaithfulness is present throughout the Bible, the specific portrayal of the harlot in Revelation 17-18 is not directly mentioned elsewhere in the scriptures. Which verses in the book of Revelation, KJV, describe the harlot, mystery, Babylon the Great? Please quote the exact verses and everything that is related to her. The description of the harlot, often referred to as mystery, Babylon the Great, is found primarily in Revelation 17 and 18. Here are the relevant verses from the King James Version, KJV. Revelation 17:1-6, KJV. 1 And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. 2 With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. 3 So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. 4 And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. 5 And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. 6 And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus, and when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Revelation 17:15-18, KJV. 15 And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues. 16 And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. 17 For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. 18 And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Revelation 18:1-8, KJV. 1 And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. 2 And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. 3 For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. 4 And I heard another voice from heaven, saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. 5 For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. 6 Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled fill to her double. 7 How much she hath glorified herself, and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. 8 Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death, and mourning, and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. These passages provide the detailed description of the harlot, her association with the beast, and her eventual judgment. Alright, now let's turn to another character that appears in the book of Revelation. Let's talk about the two witnesses, prophetic figures who testify during a period of tribulation. Are the two witnesses, prophetic figures who testify during a period of tribulation in the book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. The specific figures identified as the two witnesses in the book of Revelation, who testify during a period of tribulation, are not explicitly mentioned elsewhere in the Bible. The description of the two witnesses is unique to Revelation 11:3-12. Revelation 11:3-12, KJV. 3 And I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. For these are the two olive trees, and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. 5 And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth, and devoureth their enemies, and if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. 6 These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues, as often as they will. 7 And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them, and kill them. 8 And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. 9 And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and an half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. 10 And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them, and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. 11 And after 3 days and an half the Spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. 12 And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. The two witnesses are portrayed as having special powers and a significant role during a specific period of tribulation. Interpretations of the identity of the two witnesses vary among scholars and readers, but their explicit mention is limited to the book of Revelation. Alright, now let's turn to another character that appears in the book of Revelation. Let's talk about Michael the Archangel. Is Michael the Archangel in the book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. Yes, Michael the Archangel is mentioned in the book of Revelation and elsewhere in the Bible. In Revelation, Michael plays a role in a celestial conflict. Revelation 12:7-9, KJV. 7 And there was war in heaven, Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. 8 And prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. 9 And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. This passage describes a heavenly battle between Michael and his angels and the dragon, identified as the devil or Satan. Michael is also mentioned in the Old Testament, particularly in the book of Daniel, where he is described as one of the chief princes and a protector of God's people. Daniel 10:13, KJV. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days, but, lo, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, and I remained there with the kings of Persia. Daniel 12:1, KJV. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time, and at that time thy people shall be delivered. Every one that shall be found written in the book. These passages from Daniel depict Michael as a powerful celestial being with a role in protecting and delivering God's people. While Michael is not extensively mentioned throughout the Bible, these passages highlight his significance in the context of spiritual warfare and protection. Are there more biblical references to Michael in the KJV Bible? Yes, there are additional biblical references to Michael in the King James Version, KJV, of the Bible. Here are a few more passages that mention Michael. Jude 1:9, KJV. Yet Michael the archangel, when contending with the devil he disputed about the body of Moses, durst not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, The Lord rebuke thee. This verse refers to an incident where Michael, the archangel, contended with the devil over the body of Moses, displaying respect and relying on the authority of the Lord. Daniel 10:21, KJV. But I will shew thee that which is noted in the scripture of truth, and there is none that holdeth with me in these things, but Michael your prince. In this verse from the book of Daniel, Michael is described as your prince, emphasizing his role as a protector and leader of God's people. These passages provide additional insights into Michael's character and role within the biblical narrative. The references portray Michael as an archangel involved in spiritual battles and as a guardian figure associated with the protection of God's people. Alright, now let's turn to another set of characters that appears in the book of Revelation. Let's talk about various kings and nations. Are the various kings and nations in the book of Revelation mentioned elsewhere in the Bible? Use KJV. The book of Revelation provides vivid imagery of various kings and nations involved in the cosmic conflict during the end times. While the specific details and sequences of events in Revelation are unique, the general theme of nations, rulers, and conflicts is a common motif found throughout the Bible. Here are some relevant passages. Psalm 2:1-3, KJV. 1. Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? 2. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together, against the Lord, and against his anointed, saying. 3. Let us break their bands asunder, and cast away their cords from us. This psalm speaks of the nations and kings plotting against the Lord and his anointed. Isaiah 24:21-23, KJV. 21. And it shall come to pass in that day, that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. 22. And they shall be gathered together, as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. 23. Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when the Lord of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion, and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. In Isaiah, there is a prophecy about the punishment of the kings of the earth. Revelation 16:14, KJV. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. This Revelation verse mentions the influence of evil spirits on the kings of the earth, gathering them for the final battle. While these passages do not provide an exhaustive parallel to the detailed events described in Revelation, they share the overarching theme of God's sovereignty over the nations and the eventual judgment of those who oppose him. The book of Revelation draws on the prophetic and apocalyptic traditions of the Old Testament, using symbolic language to convey spiritual truths. I believe the AI did not provide an exhaustive list of all the characters found in the book of Revelation. I know there are other strange creatures. I seem to remember some type of leopard creature. Alright, now let's turn to another character that appears in the book of Revelation. Let's talk about leopard creature. What is the leopard creature that appears in the book of Revelation? Use KJV. In the book of Revelation, a leopard-like creature is mentioned as part of a composite beast. This imagery is found in Revelation 13:1-10, KJV. 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. 3 And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. 4 And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? 5 And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. 6 And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. 7 And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds, and tongues, and nations. 8 And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. 9 If any man have an ear, let him hear. 10 He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. The composite beast described in these verses is often interpreted as representing a political power that opposes God and persecutes the followers of Christ during a period of tribulation. Each element of the beast, including the leopard-like appearance, the feet of a bear, and the mouth of a lion, symbolizes various characteristics or attributes of this powerful entity. The use of imagery, such as the leopard, draws on symbolic language and echoes similar imagery found in the Old Testament, particularly in the book of Daniel. In Daniel 7:6, KJV, there is a vision of a leopard with 4 wings and 4 heads, representing a powerful and swift conqueror. After this I beheld, and lo another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Interpreting the symbolic elements of these visions requires understanding the broader context of apocalyptic literature and considering historical and theological perspectives. Different interpretations exist, and scholars may vary in their understanding of the specific identity of the symbolic creatures mentioned in these passages. Okay, I guess the beast from the sea, Antichrist, has this leopard attribute. It wasn't in the list, but what are the lion-headed horse creatures that appears in the book of Revelation? Use KJV. The AI didn't know what I meant, so I had to find the verse. Revelation 9:17. King James Version. 17 And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. The description you are referring to appears in Revelation 9:17, KJV. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. This passage is part of the vision of the 6th trumpet judgment in the book of Revelation. It is a highly symbolic and apocalyptic depiction of a destructive force. The description of horses with heads like lions, breathing out fire, smoke, and brimstone, is part of the vivid imagery used to convey the nature of this judgment. Interpreting the symbolic language of Revelation involves understanding the broader context of apocalyptic literature and recognizing that the imagery often conveys spiritual truths rather than literal descriptions. The details of these visions are complex and have been the subject of various interpretations throughout history. Alright. It's late. Let's make this a video. But, there are more characters to explore, like the rainbow-headed angel, locusts, and more.